Hi everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're going to continue with the clairs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about clairsentient. There are two types of clairsentient. There's the regular clairsentient and there's the prophetic feeler clairsentient, okay? So the first I'll talk about, which is clairsentient, and that's someone who feels everything. And I always listen to the way a student will talk in sharing after an exercise. I listen to the verbiage as far as, how was that for you? And they'll say, well, I felt, or I saw, or I heard, or I tasted. And that helps me understand exactly where their gifts and abilities lie and what they're doing, okay? So the feeler will always say, well, I felt it. And I'll say, well, what do you mean you felt it? I just felt it. I just felt that the name was Mary, and I just felt that the month was December, and I just felt, because very often Spirit will share a memory, and they'll say, I just felt the Statue of Liberty. So, it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't have that particular gift how it works with an individual, but that's why it's so important that everybody embrace the gifts that they have. Many will say to me, I want to see like you and I want to hear like you. And I'll always say to them, let's learn through exercise exactly what your gifts are. And once you know your gifts, embrace the gifts that God gave you. If you're a clairsentient and you can feel everything, that's every bit as good as being a seer and seeing everything. Because with a feel, it's a sense of seeing. It's all seeing, but in your own way. Okay, I see with my own eyes, in my mind's eye, but a feeler can see just by feeling. It's very hard to explain, I know, but for me, when they do exercises, I listen very carefully to what they say. And I'll say, how was that exercise for you? Well, I felt this, or I saw that, or I heard this. And then we can hone in, and I can teach them to embrace and certainly how to strengthen their own gift and ability. So clairsentient, again, is a feeler. Then you have the prophetic feeler. A prophetic feeler is very different, and I'll explain it this way. I also am a prophetic feeler, okay? So for me, if a parent has lost a child, and they come to me for a reading, it's as though it's my child. I feel like it's my child. So for prophetic feeler, we have to learn how to pull the emotion back. If we can't learn how to pull that emotion back, then it can really cripple us. It can really make us ill, and we can't do this work, okay? So, it took me a couple years to learn how to pull the emotions back from feeling when people would come to me. But I did learn how to do it with the help of prayer and meditation, which is vitally important for me. I have to keep God in the center of everything. And my prayer life has to be very strong. And that goes, a prayer and meditation for me go hand in hand. And that's what pulls God into my heart and into my soul. Okay, so that's why I encourage everybody to pray and meditate every day if you can. I certainly know I have to. I have to continue to do this work the way that I do it, and certainly as much as I do it, because my readings, more and more people are finding their way to me, and that's wonderful. I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I pray that God and Spirit always helps me, to help these people. But I have to take care of myself, and the way I take care of myself, of course, in the physical is I try to ingest proper things into my body, but more importantly is that I feed my soul, and that's through prayer and meditation. Okay. The prophetic feeler is very different, and it's very hard for some prophetic feelers to continue this work. If you're a nurse, anybody that's pulled to the medical field, I feel are prophetic feelers, because to me, each and every one is a humanitarian in their own way. They feel very pulled to help people, and many of them are prophetic feelers. And I know when my son Billy was in for open heart surgery, the nurses were wonderful, and so many of the nurses would hug and kiss the kids and, hold them and rock them and love them, and they were wonderful. And there was this one nurse she was wonderful. She was excellent at her job. She would come in, she would take care of the children, she did what had to be done, and she would leave. And a lot of the parents didn't like her because they said, gee, she never smiles, she never, really interacts with the children. And I would say to them, don't judge her, because I knew in my heart and soul that she was a prophetic feeler. So this was her way of, she had to pull that emotion back, because if she didn't pull that emotion back, she couldn't continue this line of work, okay? So there is a difference. So prophetic feeler is a little harder. Again, it takes a little more work, more prayer time, more meditation time, and education is key. And, there aren't any exercises I can really give you for that other than prayer and meditation. I do have exercises which I give in class to individuals that are prophetic feelers, and I teach them how to pull that energy back. Okay, so I really encourage, places like Lilydale, New York, when you see Claire workshops, certainly the Journey Within in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, and of course here in my center, the Spirit Education Center and Sanctuary. And I also do these similar workshops in the Center for Conscious Caregiving in Brick, New Jersey, which is located at the Jersey Shore. Okay, and certainly, I'm getting a lot of emails. I'm not going to have time tonight to answer some of the questions. I will set certain nights aside just to answer questions. I'm going to do, because so many questions are coming in, and I like to be able to answer questions every night, but tonight I can't because this is a little longer because we're going into the two different types of feelings. But I will set time aside to answer your questions. Okay, so again, the Clairsentient, it's a wonderful gift. It's a wonderful gift to feel. They're all the same. Learn to embrace and love your own gift and ability, which comes from God. People say to me all the time, I want to see like you, or I want to hear like you, and I'll say, please learn to embrace and love your own God-given gift. Okay, now as you go forward and as you educate yourself more and you pray and meditate more, other clairs may open up. Before long you will be embracing all of your gifts. All of my 5 clairs work for me sometimes, but most of the time I see and I hear. Those are my strongest gifts from God. So I have learned to embrace them and strengthen them, and I know how to work with them. Okay, so education is key, and classes are key, and workshops. Very vitally important if you want to do this work, that you find your way to the right teachers. And I certainly, I love to give referrals, so if you want to write to me and tell me your location, I'll certainly, do my homework and try to find somebody that's running a meetup in your area, or direct you to a spiritual evidential medium that could help you. I'm very big on referrals. Again, this is a very competitive field, and it should not be. I think there should be a light worker on every corner, because each and every one of us are going to leave this planet. We're going to die in the physical sense before we begin our lives in the full spiritual sense. Okay, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. But while we're here, I think it's really important that we feed our minds, and feed our hearts and souls with the right information, especially when it comes to the metaphysical world. So I like to encourage people to go to the right people. So please feel free to send me your location, any questions that you have, and I'll try to direct you best I can. Okay, so tomorrow night we'll go over the Claircognizant, and until then, I hope that you have a pleasant night, and as always, I leave you in God's love and light. Good night.